Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome to another video for Eve Echoes. In today's video I am super excited to be able to reveal to you all of the balance update test server notes, and we can talk about how the test server itself actually works. Now before we jump in on this, I am going to get straight to the point here because it is going to be a fairly lengthy video. I'll try to keep it as short as possible, but there's a lot to cover and I do want to be thorough and concise so that I don't give any misinformation. As usual, if you find this helpful, hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you do want to go ahead and help support this channel, you can do so by joining me on Patreon or checking out the Redbubble merchandise store. This does also mean the dev Q&A today has been pushed back to a bonus weekend video that will be out tomorrow. Anyway, first of all then, the test server announcement. This is going to upset some people, I'm afraid. The Eve Echoes test server for the balance update will open at 8 AM UTC plus 0 on April 9th and will close at 10 AM UTC plus 0 on April 12th. So we'll have 3 days of being able to test this. That's 74 hours in total, 72 hours plus the 2. To ensure players can continue to play on the normal server, the test server will be released with a separate APK. Please understand that the test is therefore only available on Android devices due to the restrictions of Apple's policy. I'm very sorry to anyone who is on iOS who's using iPhone or iPad in order for this test. You are not going to be able to participate using your regular device. You'll either need to borrow an Android device or possibly download an Android emulator and do things that way. If you're not familiar with how APKs work and you're on Android, you will have to download this file. The link is here on Discord and I will put it in the description of this video as well. I'll copy it across. It's an installer file, kind of like a .exe on Windows or something like that, that you can download and then sideload the app onto your Android device. Now, you may have to go into your security settings and allow it to install from unknown sources. You may, in certain devices, have different ways of doing that. If you're not sure how to use an APK, just go onto Google and type in how to install APK and then the name of your device, like Huawei or Poco or whatever it is that you happen to be using. So I am very sorry to iOS players here. This is one of the downsides of using an iOS device, that Apple does not allow you to easily sideload apps, and that's a problem when it comes to testing and stuff like this. I'm not sure why they've changed this from how it was before. It used to just be an option in the main menu of the game. You could tap and it would swap the app for you directly that way. It was cumbersome, but at least it allowed iOS to work. Perhaps there's too much data or something this time, I genuinely don't know, but that is the situation. They've also specifically set up a new channel for the discussion during the test balance patch, balance test server feedback. Your opinions and suggestions will be collected and submitted to the developers as a reference. I'll also be taking feedback on any videos that I do, both positive and negative, and I'll be passing that to the developers directly as well. That said, there's also a feedback collection form that you can fill in that is a Google document. I will put links to all of this in the description down below. Now you can see here they've given detailed balance patch notes. Not all of the full numbers are here, so please be aware of that now. If you're looking for exact figures on things like the drone, the anti-drone pulse bomb, those do not exist in the patch notes. We'll get to that as we go. Now I will try and, as I said, be as concise and thorough as I can be whilst being as brief as possible in order to go through this, because there's a lot of stuff here to go through. Link to this in the description down below as well. I'm going to talk about each of these changes one by one, and I will try to put timestamps in the description as well to cover all of this. Let's start off straight away with new features, the Combat Commendation. Capsuleers can apply for the Concord for an additional reward to each bounty gained for repelling pirates in the last 7 days. You open your wallet page, you go to Filter, and you go to Bounty Rewards. You can then tap on those and choose which ones you want to duplicate. Concord will grant ISK equal to 100% of that bounty tick as an additional reward to encourage Capsuleers to continue fighting pirates and defending the peace of New Eden. Each bounty can only be claimed once, so if you happen to find happen to have a really cool bounty price comes in, say like a 70 million one, you can click on that. You can then get another 70 million ISK duplicated, but you cannot do that one then another time. It would be better for Capsuleers to destroy pirates as quickly as possible to get better results and claim extra bounties. There's also a maximum limit for each bounty of 200 million for now, so if you happen to get like a 210 million ISK bounty, crikey, you'll only be able to duplicate 200 million of that. I can't guarantee if you'll actually be able to duplicate it and it'll only give you 200 million, or if it'll just say, sorry, this one's too high, and you'll have to pick another bounty, which might be less than 200 million. I actually thought that this was only 200 million per week. The fact fact that it's per bounty is a little bit concerning to me personally, as that is a rich getting richer scenario. It means that anyone who is able to get basically 200 million on their bounties can double all of those, thus having a lot of additional ISK. That's a concern. I liked it when it was the concept of it being 200 million per week, because it meant someone who was earning, say, if you had 4 commendations and you were earning bounty ticks of 200 million, essentially you could only use 1 commendation a week to get that 200 million. If you were earning 50 million per bounty tick, you could use all 4 of those every week to get that 200 million cap. It helped sort of the middle to top more than the very top. This just allows the rich to duplicate their ISK income. I'm not sure I like this. The higher the tech level, the more times you can apply for a combat commendation each week. Unused applications can be stored for up to 4 weeks for future use. So any that you don't use this week, you can use in the preceding 3 weeks as well. So there is that to it. I'm still not certain on this system. I'm not sure I really like this. I'll be giving my own personal feedback. I encourage you guys to do the same as well. Lazarus unit gifts. This is really cool. Considering that Capsuleers may have Lazarus unit needs after the balance adjustment, the Concord will provide Capsuleers with Lazarus unit gifts. During the event, when the tech level reaches 5, you can receive the Lazarus unit. For higher tech levels, each level will unlock more rewards to be claimed. The exact amount is in accordance with the in-game event page, so we'll know this in full details once we're logged in. If you're tech level 5 or higher, you will gain Lazarus points that allow you to respec some of your skill points. It is a 1-to-1. If you've got 1,000 Lazarus units, you can respec 1,000 skill points. So we're probably going to get multiple millions of these, which will allow you to respec based on your current tech level. It's also worth noting, as a brief aside here, I won't do this much through this video, I promise, this current Concord Pass Season 8, I think it is, if you look through the rewards in the Concord Pass, Lazarus units are available, up to 900,000, I think, as part of the Concord Pass, so these are something that we are going to be getting more frequently. Corporation management updates. When the corporation leader is offline for more than 21 days, Corp members can initiate a vote to change the CEO. That vote will take 48 hours. It's a registered ballot. Results will be public. When the voting concludes, the Capsuleer with the highest number of votes will become the new Corp CEO. Only Corp members who have joined the corporation and logged into the game within 3 days before voting will be eligible to vote and can be voted for. Cool, I like this change, I've mentioned this. Now the controversial anti-drone pulse bomb. Introducing the anti-drone pulse bomb, a high slot module that's usually fitted onto battleships. When enabled, it can damage all drones and fighters within a certain range. There we have that confirmation. People were saying, oh no, it only affects shields, and I said, no, it's going to be just flat damage, and it is indeed flat damage within a certain range. It can be obtained from Mark 7 module blueprint supply boxes, Mark 9 module blueprint supply boxes. So there are 2 variants of this, a Mark 7 and a Mark 9. We don't have the details. That'll be something I'll be jumping straight in to have a look at on the test server when it opens tomorrow morning. Plex price restrictions, a measure to stop malicious manipulation of the I really can't talk today. A measure to stop malicious manipulation of the Plex price. From now on, whenever a player attempts to sell Plex, alter Plex price, or acquire Plex, the price that they set must be within the range of the weekly valuation times 80%, greater than or equal to price, greater than or equal to weekly valuation times 120%. So basically the price needs to be within 80 to 120% of the weekly valuation. This actually should help stop Plex just soaring in price. It will, of course, stop it plummeting instantly as well, but it will stop it being a runaway rampant situation. I like this. I know that there's the argument of maybe Plex should be a free economy kind of thing, but for me, keeping it in sort of a reasonable range is really useful, especially for newer pilots. Now we come to the balance adjustments. Cosmic anomalies, the blueprint types of Inquisitor anomalies, relic locations, and capital anomalies has been changed. Basically anything that could drop blueprints. It doesn't specifically say scouts. I have had confirmation scouts will be changed as well. Anything that drops blueprints in a particular area of space has had those blueprints changed. The featured blueprints of each faction are more varied, while the gaps between average values are smaller. For more details, please refer to the balance update. I'll put a link to my video there. There's a timestamp that will take you through and you can see exactly which blueprints are available in which regions now, because it is a split. It's not just, oh, all the navigation rigs are here. It's now some of the navigation rigs are with these guys, some of the navigation rigs are with these guys, and it makes a lot of sense. Number 2, all data sites now drop combat engineering integration materials. That's really cool. That's a nice little boost to data sites income. And Sancha dead spaces now drop afterburners. Thank goodness, that makes sense. We should have had Senti C-type afterburners dropping in dead spaces. Now we do. That's another way to get those onto the market. Excellent news there. Encounters. The number of encounters per day is now limited. Alpha clones can only accept 40 encounters per day. Omega clones can only accept 50 encounters per day. This is really not a big issue. Ultimately, they've shown the data for this, and ultimately, the amount of players, actual, genuine, non-botting players, exceeding 40 encounters per day is like 0.03%. It is a tiny amount of people. Ultimately, you've now got the commendation. This is designed purely to help stop botting. I cannot for the life of me imagine doing 50 encounters per day. I think my head would genuinely fall off my shoulders. Interdictors. All 1 and 2 interdictors now have 1 more high slot, and all 3 interdictors now have 2 more high slots. Does that give us combat destroyers? No, it does not, but it does give us a bit more damage to them, which I'm all for. Thrasher 2 interdictor and Thrasher 3 interdictor now gain a 3% damage bonus for each level. Other interdictors gain a 2.5% damage bonus for each level. Before anyone sort of complains, it's because of how autocannons and that work here. This does make sense. I'm excited to see this. It's a damage boost, plus we've got 2 more high slots. I'll be interested to see how the Thrasher 3 interdictor does now in a non-interdiction role. Hopefully it gives us a little bit of combat capability as well. We will see. I don't think it's going to really make much difference, but it's nice to have. Interdiction and heavy interdiction cruisers now have 8% less speed, 8.3% less speed to be precise. Interceptors now have 12.5% less speed. Now, before anyone goes, oh my goodness, the sky is falling, that coupled with their ridiculously tiny signature radiuses, they should be able to speed tank more than adeptly here, but they will feel the penalty of being hit by a web or a scram much more noticeably now, which means it's kind of increased the skill floor a little bit for interceptors. They're still going to be quite capable of speed tanking. They're just not going to be so flat out ridiculous at it, which I am all for. Atron Interceptor and Warp Signature Radius penalty changed from 15% to minus 10%. Small railgun damage bonus changed from 10% to 2.5%. Oh, that's a hefty nerf on the Atron Interceptor there. Kind of makes sense, though. Small railgun damage on that. If you were doing a, Orbit 0 version of the Atron Interceptor, it was very small, very fast, and just doing insane damage. Optimal range of the Warp Disruptor and Warp Scrambler changed from 5% to 6%, so that's a boost to its designated role. Its signature radius penalty changed from 15% to 10%. Nice. It's the penalty, so that's gone down the other way. That's a minor nerf there to its thing there. Damage bonus changed from 15% to 12.5%, so you're seeing there that, like, the Atron Interceptor and Atron 2 Interceptor have had their signature radius penalty reduced, so they are getting a bigger penalty a little bit, going from 75% reduction to a 50% reduction, which I think is fine, and its damage is being reduced quite drastically. Whether or not that's enough remains to be seen. I would have liked to have seen them all lose a high slot and have these damage bonuses, but apparently NetEase disagrees with me. Warp Disruptor and Warp Scrambler range bonus removed from the Slasher Interceptor. Its small cannon now has a 2.5% damage bonus instead of 10%. That's a massive drop. So the Slasher Interceptor gets a humongous drop, but the Atron doesn't get anywhere near that. Like, the Atron's gone from 15% down to 12.5%. Quick bit of maths, that's 45% is its current increase at full 5 levels there. That's wrong. That's not right at all. That's 75%, sorry, at all 5 levels. 15, 30, 60, 75. Yep, 75% down to what is now 62.5%. That's not a huge drop. 75 to 62.5 compared to 50 dropping all the way down to, like, 7.5. That's a huge drop there. For Slasher 2 Interceptor, I should be comparing that actually here to the Atron Interceptor, 10 to 2.5%. Okay, no, that is a massive drop. Okay, fair enough. Slasher 2 Interceptor optimal range for its Scramble and Warp decreased from 5% to 3%. Damage decreased from 15 to 12%. Again, it's not much of a drop on the Tech 10 versions. I think we're seeing pretty much the same across the board here. Executioner Interceptor, optimal range of Warp, Disruptor, and Scrambler increased from 3% to 5%. Warp Drive Signature Radius Penalty decreased from 15 to 10%. Damage bonus is removed. Flat out removed. For Executioner 2 Interceptor, the optimal range of its Warp Disruptor changed from 5% to 8%, so it's getting a boost there. Warp Drive Signature Radius Penalty getting nerfed. Damage bonus changed from 15 to 10%. Condor 2, Condor Interceptor, 10% change to 2.5. Condor 2's Interceptor damage, 15% down to 2.5, and damage 10%. Okay, so they are all getting DPS nerfs. They are getting changes as well. Before the balance patch, they all actually had different skills in that some of them had bonuses to webs, some of them had bonuses to disruptors, some of them had bonuses to scramblers. Looks like they are adding that variety back in, which I like. It's keeping them more in line with tackle frigates. It looks like the Tech 8 variants have had their damage massively reduced. The Tech 10 versions, I'm not sure that's a significant drop in damage, or rather a significant enough drop in damage, but again, considering there are no other current options at Tech level 10, I kind of get where they're coming from. If they had added a whole new load of Tech 10 assault frigates, then they could have absolutely dropped the Tech 10 Interceptors damage right the way down as well. So I think they're kind of holding their cards close to their chest for the time being. I think in the future, if we see new frigates added to Tech 10, that the Condor 2, the Atron 2, Slasher 2, and Executioner 2 Interceptor will also get their DPS dropped then. I think that's something we'll see in future. Arbitrator Interdictor gets +1 drone slot and -1 mid slot. Other heavy interdiction cruisers get -1 mid slot and +1 high slot. That's going to be interesting. I'm glad I haven't done too many videos that I wanted to do on those, like those interdictors there. That's pretty cool. It's interesting they lose a mid slot, so they lose a little bit of tackling capability, but they do gain an additional high slot to give them some more damage. I'll be interested to see how that one plays out. Thorax Interdictor and Rupture Interdictor, the effective radius of their warp disruption field raised from 10% to 12.5%, so the Rupture Interdictor is getting even bigger bubbles. That's insane. Kind of looking forward to seeing that one in action though. Kind of, scary, but there we go. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. I don't fly the heavy interdictor cruisers all that much. I would like to know what you think in regards to this one. Empire ships. All exploration frigates get +1 mid-slot. This is amazing. That now means they can fit the blue scanner, the relic analyzer, and the data analyzer, which allows them to actually fulfill their role. Even better, the data analyzer and relic analyzer success rate +25% has been added as a new exclusive role bonus. This is amazing, and they get Covert Ops cloaking device reactivation delay -50%, so they can put their cloak back up again if they get decloaked in a faster time. That relic and data analyzer success rate of +25% is amazing. I did ask Cloud for that one directly, would that be included? He confirmed it was. They haven't let me down. And Melos, again, months ago, confirming that +1 mid-slot in the April update. Thank you for adding that. That's huge for me. It allows us to actually use the Probe, Heron, Magnet, and Imicus Explorers for their intended purpose. The Rock now has 31.6% more shield, armor, and structure. Crikey, that's a huge buff to the Rock. That has just become so much tankier. Is that going to make it good at brawling? I don't know. Test it and let me know. But that is a big buff. If you like the Rock, now is the best time to be flying it. The Armageddon 2 is getting an additional low slot, making it tankier. Effective range of Energy Nosferatus and Energy Neutralizers has been raised from 10% to 15%, which now makes it absolutely like a baby Balgorn. That's amazing. Armageddon gets +1 low slot, the Tech 9 variant. Cool, those weren't getting much use, so apparently they've upgraded them. That's really cool. I quite like how that one's going. Is that going to be too much on effective range of Energy Nos and Energy Neutralizers, considering they're going from 50% to 75% boost? Well, we'll see. New exclusive bonus for the Scorpion and Scorpion 2, the battleship that no one flies. Turret effective range +25%. I think that is going to be optimal range. It could be both optimal and fall off, we'll have to see, and missile torpedo flight velocity is plus 25% as well. So I imagine that is going to be both. That'll be like, for example, the battle cruisers that get the plus 25% range there as well. That's really cool. That gives it a little bit more reason to be flown. Extra range on it, I'm all for. And the Typhoon and Typhoon 2 gain missile torpedo flight velocity plus 5% per level, which is amazing. Extra range there for the Typhoon and Typhoon 2. You guys know how much I love the Typhoon 2. I'm thoroughly enjoying that ship. Getting additional range is just amazing. 25% additional range there. That's really cool. And the Typhoon at Tech 9 is gaining an additional mid-slot. Excellent. Excellent news for Typhoon pilots. Viva la Minmatar, in Rust we trust. Number 8, new exclusive bonus for the Apocalypse. Large laser capacitor consumption minus 5% for each level. Apparently the Apocalypse was chewing through its capacitor too fast, therefore they have given it a reduction to the large laser capacitor consumption. I don't know if this is just the Apocalypse or if it's going to be the Apocalypse Striker as well. By the looks of it, just the Apocalypse, because the Apocalypse Striker is separately listed as getting the tracking velocity raised from 5 to 7.5%, so its tracking speed bonus goes from 5% to 7.5%. Is that going to affect all that much when most people are using beam lasers on this? No. No, it's not. But it means if you are using pulses and pulses are getting buffed in this patch, then there's a better reason for doing so. I don't know. Entirely up to you. Number 10, for the Harbinger Logistics and Drake Logistics, Remote Armor Repairer Remote Shield Booster Activation Time minus 8% has been changed to Armor Repairer Shield Booster Effect plus 20%, so you're getting more boost out of it per cycle instead of a reduced activation time. Remote Capacitor Transmitter Effective Range has increased from 75 to 100%, and Capacitor Transmitter Effect bonus increased from 20 to 25%. That's nice changes there for the Harbinger Logistics and Drake Logistics, which weren't getting all that much use compared to, well, I say the Harbinger Logistics. I've not actually seen Armor Logistics being used for anything other than trolling in PvP, but certainly I know that almost everyone goes for the Hurricane Logistics rather than the Drake Logistics. Is this going to be enough reason to go for the Drake rather than the Kane? Maybe. I don't know. Again, someone who is more experienced with the logistics may be able to explain that one better than I can. For the time being, though, it's a big change and it's nice buffs. Hopefully we'll see some more Drake logistics out there rather than just the Hurricanes. For the Augurer and the Osprey, Remote Armor Repairer Remote Shield Booster Activation Time minus 5, changed to Booster Effect plus 12.5 again, rather than faster cycling, which negatively affects the capacitor. They're going for bigger effects on the other end. It's kind of the same result without nuking your own capacitor as much, which again kind of makes sense. It does homogenize these ships a bit. It brings the Osprey closer to the Scythe and the Augurer closer to the Execra, but they do have some differences there in like the effective range bonus from 50 to 75%, and the capacitor transmitter effect bonus goes up instead to kind of give you that. And all logistics cruisers are getting +1 mid-slot. That is, I assume, the Osprey and the Osprey 2, the Scythe, Scythe 2, Execra, Augurer 1 and 2. This is pretty cool, and I can hear Def Not Spy whooping in the distance there. I think he's been playing a lot recently with some of the logistics cruisers and having fun with them. I know the logistics battle cruisers he's been having fun with as well. I don't know about the cruisers, actually, in fairness, but we'll see. That's cool. Additional mid-slots means more capacitor transfers, capacitor transmitters and things like that. And if you're going for troll fits in PvP, well, you can have more fun with those with more mid-slots. That's a good thing, right? 5% secondary damage bonus removed from all Stealth Bomber 2s, because yes, the Stealth Bomber 2s definitely needed nerfing, right? These already very niche ships that don't do what they're supposed to do, which is threaten battleships, just got their damage bonus removed. I don't know, I kind of feel bad for that. Like, the stealth bombers, in my opinion, they need considerably better application or a massive increase to their alpha at the cost of, like, activation time. Make it so that the one shot they fire really, really hurts. But no, apparently they're having their reduction reduced because they're doing too much damage. I disagree with that one. Again, I'll be having a look at the Stealth Bomber 2s once we're on the test server, but I think that's what I'm going to be putting as a disagree. The Algos 2 Assault's Sensor Strength +3 has been changed to Scan Resolution +3, so it'll lock on faster. Awesome. Sensor Strength bonus of the Blackbird, Blackbird Covert Ops, Blackbird 2 Covert Ops, Blackbird Interdictor, changed to Missile Torpedo Flight Velocity +4%, so rather than the useful Sensor Strength, it's going to be getting up to 20% additional range, which is cool. That actually gives it a bit of a difference to the Bellicose. It's going to have further range than the Bellicose would do, and the Blackbird 3 Covert Ops has gone to a 5% missile torpedo flight velocity per level, so it's going to have 25% range advantage. That's really cool. I just sourced a Blackbird 3 Covert Ops from Yatsuki. I'll be fitting that and giving it a try and seeing how I like it with that change, if that actually makes a big enough change to fly it over the Bellicose. 17. Scan resolution bonus of the Celestis and its variants changed to turret tracking plus 5%. Awesome. I'm going to be changing from medium railgun skills to going back to cannons then, and having some fun with the Celestis Covert Ops with cannons. The Cyclone Guardian gets a new exclusive bonus, shield booster capacity need minus 5% for each level. That's huge. Like, the Cyclone Guardian's a pretty cool ship already. It's now becoming a good at soloing ship, as in, like, if you don't have logistics support, it's going to be better at keeping itself alive, which is awesome. And for the Myrmidon Guardian, same thing there. The armor repairer capacity consumption is 5% down for each level as well. This means that those two ships, the Cyclone and the Myrmidon Guardian, now actually have a reason to sort of be used possibly over some of the alternative Guardians out there as well, in that this is essentially going to make them better without logistical support. That's cool. I like this kind of stuff, having reasons to fly different types of ships. Moving on to the faction ships, and my goodness, this is crazy. All non-Empire battleships can now have up to 8 locked targets. To clarify, that's not the crazy bit, that just kind of makes sense. Sisters of Eve and Mordu's Legion now have 10% more shield, armor, and structure, so they're a lot more tanky now. New exclusive bonus for Sisters of Eve ships, Data Analyzer and Relic Analyzer success rate plus 25%, which is, I think, the same as we saw on the Probe, and that here, yeah, 25%. Data Analyzer and Relic Analyzer success rate plus 25%. So all the exploration vessels, all the exploration frigates, including the Astero and then the Stratios, which I'm aware is not an exploration frigate, it's a cruiser, but hey, they're all getting that 25% Data and Relic Analyzer success rate, which means you should not be losing boxes anymore if you're flying a correct ship. The Gamma gets its damage bonus raised from 20% to 25% per level, going from 100% additional damage to those missiles to 125%. That is huge. This is now a good reason to fly the Gamma. Obviously, the Condor 2 Interceptor being nerfed has given more reason to fly the Gamma anyway. That Gamma damage bonus actually makes it pretty tantalizing. Same with the Orthrus, going from a 25% increase to a 30% increase on the full brace of medium missiles there. That's a big damage boost. The Bar Guest, again, 10% to 12.5%, so going from 50% up to 62.5%. Big changes there for the Mordu's Legion ships. They are getting significantly tankier and doing a lot more damage with their missiles. That's huge. The Astero, its drone effective hit points is raised from 30 to 35%. That's, again, massive. That is going to keep those drones around a little bit longer. Especially with the inclusion of the anti-drone pulse bomb, it's going to help them survive against this kind of stuff. And the drone damage has gone from 30% to 40%. So whereas the Astero is currently just sort of a bully that is good at pushing people out of exploration sites, this is going to make it an even better hunter. I'm actually quite excited about this. I want to take the Astero out and really give that a good try. The Stratios as well, humongous thanks to the guys who built one of these for me recently. Again, full shout out to Austin Krieg and all that. There will be a video on this soon, I promise. Drone damage there from 25% to 30%, so that's gone from, again, that's a big increase there, 25% additional damage overall. Nesta drone damage raised from 60 to 70% on top of all of this as well, the 10% more armor, shields and structure. Scan radius bonus has gone from 7.5 to 9%, so it's going to be locking on faster. Scan radius, that's the hunting one. New exclusive bonus, remote armor repairer capacity consumption minus 50%. It is now really actually quite effective as a logistics ship, because those remote armor repairers are not chewing your capacitor at all anymore. That's huge bonuses there for the Sisters of Eve and Mordu's Legion. I cannot wait to give these a go. Considering their current price tag on live, this actually validates that a bit. Finally then, here on the faction ships, the Dramiel damage bonus raised from 10% to 14%. We have just jumped from an additional 50% cannon damage all the way up to, what does that work out as? That's now 4 times 5 is 20, at 70% damage. I'm looking forward to this. Autocannons go brrr, and heck, even my strike cannons are just going to be, which is the fit that I'm running at the moment. That's going to be amazing. I'm super psyched for this. There will be a frigate pilot manifesto soon, looking at the Dramiel and talking about how amazing this ship now is going to be. That is just huge. That is amazing. Thank you, NetEase. Industrial ships. For the Venture 4, the inertia modifier has been decreased to 2, the warp speed increased to 6 astronomical units per second. That's amazing! And mining lasers yield raised from 30% to 35%. That might give you a reason actually now for using the Venture 4. If you need to get into somewhere, grab a specific ore and get out, this is definitely the ship to be using it now. That's amazing! The inertia modifier means your align and warp significantly faster. You've got a 6 astronomical unit per second warp speed and additional mining yield. Good. I want to see more people flying the Venture 4. It's a cool ship. It looks amazing. I want to see it being used. The Covetor's inertia modifier decreased to 0.4. Crikey. Warp speed increased to 4. Yes, because miners needed boosts to the Covetor, right? Venerius combat and humpback combat structure +5 changed to armor +5. Good. That makes a bit more sense. It actually is a net gain across the board there as well. You're going to get more EHP at the end of this, and it's going to obviously be easier to tank it as well, which is of course nice. For the Tyra, Badger and Badger 2, the ship hold capacity has been changed to 20,000, 30,000 and 40,000. The Mammoth, Wreath and Wreath 2, the ore hold has gone 20, 30 and 40, and the Kairos, Nereus and Nereus 2 has changed to 40, 60 and 80,000 for its mineral hold capacity, not its ore hold capacity. That's a typo. That should read mineral hold capacity. Basically, these, as far as I can tell, are buffs. I don't know these off the top of my head, and the game's not allowing me to log in, but I believe those are buffs. I'm sure these were smaller than this last time I did a video on those. Certainly the Wreath 2, I don't think it was 40,000 last time I flew it, so that's a big boost there, or at least that's a boost there. Awesome there for haulers and industrials, more bonuses to your ships. Capital ships, the Chimera and the Thanatos. The explosion velocity of their light fighters have raised from 5% to 7.5%, allowing them to actually put their damage onto targets better. That is a bonus to those two capitals, those two carriers. That's really cool. That is the Caldari and the Galente variants, of course. Then we come to ship modes. Velocity penalty under assault mode decreased from 99% to 90%. Wow, so you are still at an almost standstill, but warp is now disabled instead. I get it, but it still doesn't seem that much, you know? And under sniper mode, turret effective range missile flight velocity has been raised to 125%, so you're getting more range out of these. The tracking velocity, explosion velocity, etc. raised to 25%, and drone command range raised to 100%. That's a nice one there, rather than a flat 15 kilometers. That's pretty cool. That could actually make sniper mode pretty useful on some of these ships now. Certainly things like the Vexor sniper, I'll be interested to see how that works. Skills. Laser, railgun, cannon upgrade now provides 30% more optimal instead of the previous 25%, and a 30% fall-off range instead of the previous 35%. That is a nerf to autocannons, a slight buff to strike cannons, a buff to snub-nosed, to beams and pulses, and a nerf to rifled railguns as well. It's not huge on most of those. The cannons and the strikes, interestingly, are the ones that actually take the biggest on this. That is a significant nerf to autocannons and a fairly nice buff to strike cannons. So, I don't know, I'm curious onto that one. But certainly 30% fall-off range instead of 35%. Sorry, that's a nerf to strike cannons, but a buff to... No, I'm getting confused here. Hang on a second. 30% more optimal range. That is a buff to strike cannons. And 30% fall off down from 35 is a nerf to autocannons. Yes, I was right the first time. And again, the others, it's sort of neither here nor there when it comes to lasers. I think the optimal range buff actually does help both lasers quite nicely. For railguns, additional optimal helps the long-range ones, but it also helps the snubs. I don't know, I'm not as overly familiar with those, but for cannons, it is a nerf to autos, which is weird. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm not overly sold on that change. I don't see why it needed to happen, but I guess we'll see what happens in the long run. Afterburner operation and micro warp drive operation now greatly reduce the capacitor consumption and slightly reduce activation time, making them more flexible and consume less power per unit. Awesome! So a lot of my small micro warp drive ships just got a bit more capacitor stable. That's a nice change. Ore compression effect raised from 50% to 75%. That's a huge boost there. That should hopefully push ore compression into something that does actually get used. All regular ship command skills now provide 20% speed instead of 45% speed. I can hear Vetamune crying as his stabber loses speed on this one. But I get why they're doing this. The reason they're doing this across the board to all ships is just to slow ships down that little bit across the entire board, which means that the difference between your suggested paper DPS and your actual applied DPS are closer, because there's going to be less speed going on. Missiles and, well, predominantly missiles this will actually affect in a positive way, and this is a buff to missiles. It is a buff to turrets as well, but missiles do get more out of this, which is pretty cool. Freighter command skill now provides the same speed bonus as the other capital ships, up to 33%. So you're actually getting more for freighter command, for destroyer command, freighter command, dreadnought command, and carrier command than you are from the other regular ships. But freighters again are getting more speed to them to allow them to move that little bit faster, for what it's worth, I guess. Weapons. Large beam laser tracking velocity decreased to 1.9. So beam lasers, yep, that's quite a drop to their tracking there. Again, not that it's going to matter. The main ship that uses these just got its tracking bonus increased as well. So whilst you get less from the actual module, you're going to be getting more from the actual ship itself. Where is that? It's up here. Rock Armageddon. I can't find it. There we are. Tracking velocity of the Apocalypse Striker's large laser raised from 5 to 7.5. So the Apocalypse Striker is getting an increase to its tracking speed, but then the beam lasers are getting a reduction to the tracking speed. I think that actually, if you work it out as well, means on the Apocalypse it's still getting a buff. Still getting a buff to its tracking speed overall. The large rifled railgun tracking velocity has been increased, not by all that much, enough to hopefully hit something at range that is moving. Large pulse laser damage raised by 4%. Yo! Okay, so large pulse lasers are going to be doing a lot now. If you're using a brawling Oracle or a brawling Abaddon, that's a nice buff for you. That's really cool stuff there. Might give some people a reason to change. Nah, who am I kidding? No one's going to change the Apocalypse Striker from its beam fit just for this. Large cruise missile flight velocity raised by 25%. Large torpedo launcher flight velocity raised by 50%. So they've got longer range on large missiles there, both the standard large missiles and large torpedoes. Capital missiles have had their range increased as well. The activation time has been decreased, but the damage reduced as well. So they do less damage, but they fire more frequently. It means it basically balances out over time, but you're more likely to actually hit things because you're firing off more shots. Capital torpedo, again, flight velocity raised by 50%. That's huge. Activation time reduced by 40%, damage reduced by 40%. So they're going to be firing significantly faster, but they're going to be doing a little bit less damage as well. Capital rifled railgun, optimal range changed to 90 kilometers, fall-off range changed to 50. That's actually a direct... I was doing a graphic earlier on small rifled railguns, which have an accuracy of optimal of 9 and an accuracy of 5. That's a direct thing. It's literally 10 times. I never noticed that. Damage raised by 5%, tracking velocity raised to 0.18. So if you're using something like the Moros with large rifled capital rifled railguns, that's going to be buffed. Crikey, quite substantially as well. That's a big range increase. The damage by 5% is a lot as well. Yeah, snub-nosed railguns damage increased by 10%. The Moros, I think they're trying to get more people flying the Moros. Let's be completely honest. The reason that people fly the Moros, don't fly the Moros, isn't because it's not a good ship. It's because it's absolutely butt ugly. It's, buffing. You can buff it all you like. People aren't going to fly it just because it looks like it looks bad. No, I'm kidding. People are going to fly this. With buffs like this, that's a big change for the Moros there. Capital autocannon, optimal range changed to 12 kilometers. Fall-off range changed to 48. That's overall a buff. I quite like that. Capital strike cannon damage reduced by 5%. This I don't get. I thought that the strike cannons actually did pretty good damage for the alpha that they have. rather than, they're long range, they're very high alpha, incredible power grid, and very, very slow to fire. So if you miss, it's a long time before you get to take a second shot. But they're having their damage reduced by a whopping 5% instead. I don't know. Again, I don't really fly dreadnoughts and capitals, I don't really care for it. Someone who knows a bit more can tell me how big a loss that actually is to strike cannons. Then we come on to modules. Small and medium shield booster cooldown time reduced by 50%, so these are going to cycle so much faster now. Activation cost reduced by 50% as well, so they use a little bit less capacitor, and the shield boost amount decreased by 37.5%. So overall, that is a buff to small and medium shield boosters. They activate faster, they use less capacitor, but they also reduce more. I don't know. I really don't know. I think reducing the cooldown, and if they'd just taken the activation cost and kept that bit, taken the cooldown time and reduced that, but not done this. I think if they'd kept it being capacitor heavy and big boosts but capacitor heavy, I'd be fine with. Just that faster would have been enough for me. This kind of goes against what shield tanking is supposed to be. Shield tanking is supposed to be big heals quickly for a lot of capacitor, whereas armor tanking is comparatively smaller heals, slower, but much more capacitor friendly. Now, small, medium, and large remote armor repairer cooldown has been reduced by 3, 4.5, and 6 seconds respectively. Activation cost and armor boost amount have also been reduced. The overall performance remains unchanged. It's just so that they now go a little bit faster between cycles, so there's less... It's less worry. You don't have to time it as perfectly. The ship isn't going to die before you actually finish repairing it, which for an armor repairer does kind of make sense for a remote armor repairer. Here we go. Shield extenders, armor plates, and capacitor batteries have better passive effects and higher extra amounts when activated, removed the percentage boost on activation, and increased the reactivation delay to 180 seconds. That is a huge increase. They are now 3 times longer than they used to be. Rather than a 60-second reactivation delay, that's now a 180-second reactivation delay. That's huge, but passively, they are going to be better, and the basic amount that they increase. So whereas a medium shield extender would give you 2,500 additional shield hit points cold, would activate to give you 2,500 additional shield hit points, but then also had a hidden 18.8% bonus. They're getting rid of that 18% bonus, but making those 2,500s bigger. This means passive, it's going to be a boost, and if you're one of the people who does things like having a shield booster, a shield extender, and a load of shield adaptive invulnerability fields, etc., this is a boost overall. This is a buff overall. It's only a nerf if you were stacking these modules. Which I kind of get this. I get why they've done this. The heatsink, magnetic field stabilizer, gyro stabilizer, macro particle stabilizer, ballistic control system, and drone damage amplifier now have a higher passive damage bonus and passive activation time bonus. Removed the extra damage bonus and the extra activation time bonus when activated. Restart time increased to 135 seconds. Hang on, if they removed the extra damage bonus and the extra activation time bonus when activated, what do you actually activate them for now? Because that was both of them. I think this is possibly a typo. In the original notes, they mentioned they were taking the damage bonus off, but the activation time bonus would still be there, so that when you activated a heatsink or a magnetic field stabilizer or whatever, rather than increasing your damage and the rate of fire, it would just increase the rate of fire, but you would have a better passive bonus overall. If they've removed both of them, then they've removed the activation completely. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I think that is just the active damage, the damage bonus, the active damage bonus that has been removed. I think the active activation time bonus will still be there. But again, 135 seconds there on the restart time, on the reactivation delay. It's gone up from 60 seconds. It's not as big as we saw on the extenders, but it is still a large increase. It's more than doubled. Interdiction Sphere Launcher activation time raised to 45 seconds, so there's more of a delay between launching bubbles. Flight time reduced to 90 seconds, so they last in space less. And increased their range, though, at different meta levels. Fuel consumption has also been increased. Again, this I actually like as a change because it introduces a bit more skill as an interdictor pilot. You don't just spam bubbles anymore, you actually need to think about where those bubbles go. They're not going to be as prevalent, but each bubble itself is going to be bigger. I kind of get that. I like that. I think that is a good change overall. The disruption field range of warp disruption field generators on the cruisers has also been increased, so those bubbles are getting bigger, which when you then look at the rupture and thorax interdictor is going to be a massive increase across the board because they're getting bonuses to the increase that they supply, and then the bubbles themselves are getting bigger. Lowered the damage resistance and reduced 50% flight velocity when shield field modules are activated. Doesn't tell us exactly how much they've gone down in resistance, but shield field modules will apply less shield resistance now and will also reduce your ship's flight velocity to 50%, so you'll half your flight velocity. Shield field modules and armor link modules now have lower power grid requirements. Kind of makes sense. I actually thought they were all pretty small anyway. Warp will be disabled when they are activated, only for Guardians. The fact that it says only for Guardians makes me assume that we're going to be... I'm looking at that and my first thought was, oh, that means that when they activate it on a Sancha ship, it'll be fine. I don't think they will. I think what they're saying here is that warp will be disabled when they're active, but only the Guardians will be disabled. The ships that are inside the bubble will still be able to warp. The ships that are still linked with the armor link will still be able to warp. It's just the Guardians that will have their warp disabled. Whoever is using the shield field or armor link module will have their warp disabled. Someone asked me, do you think that's micro warp drive? The answer is no, that is their ability to warp away, because they talked about this being a disconnect thing, that when you disconnect, your shield warps off into the distance. This means if you're using a shield field module or an armor link and you disconnect, you will still sit where you were. The game will continue where you were because you will not warp away. You'll stay where you were, and the bubble will remain there, which again, it's kind of a good change, but it also means that if you're using the shield field module, you are going to have to sit there until you die or you switch the field off. Finally then, not even close to finally, I don't know why I said that, small, medium and large shield field modules, activation time changed to 40 seconds, 80 seconds, 120, so I think that is actually now consuming fuel faster, possibly. The restart time has been increased, 20, 40 and 60 seconds, and they now consume more fuel. So these are getting significant nerfs, which makes sense. They're currently dictating how large-scale PvP is fought. They're trying to make these something that can actually be popped, and when it is popped, there is a lot of penalty for that. Small, medium and large armor link modules activation time, again, I think that is a decrease this time, so that's now consumes more fuel. Restart time changed to 10, 20, 30 seconds. I think that's, again, I'm not sure on that one. It's been a long time since I used an armor link. They now consume more fuel, so this is getting a nerf here. I think this is actually buffs, though? I could be wrong. I really could be wrong. Finally for this section, genuinely finally this time, adjusted the resistance growth curve of adaptive resistance modules. Adaptive armor hardness, adaptive invulnerability fields. Their resistance modules lower than meta level 11, dead space, blue, are reduced. Those meta levels higher than 11 are slightly increased. Not that we really see any of the above 11 anyway, those are the officer level purple loot. Hopefully we might see some of those drop in the future then. But basically, if you're using C-type armor hardeners or adaptive armor hardeners or adaptive armor hardeners or adaptive invulnerability fields, the C-types are not getting changed. If you're using green or any other variants, they are getting nerfed. Rigs. The Railgun Ambit extension, Capital Railgun Ambit extension, Cannon, Capital Cannon Laser, Capital Laser Ambit extension now raise both the optimal and the fall-off range. Could there actually be a use for these rigs now? I'm not sure. For a sniping fit, yeah, sure, you could actually get some more out of this now. If you wanted to use these to allow you to orbit outside of web range on a frigate, yeah, again, that's a possibility. You could actually now do something like having a succubus using beam lasers and actually being comfortably outside of the enemy's web range now. That's cool. I actually really like that change. I'll be trying that out. Increased the effect of fighter range extender. Now it increases the fall-off range and optimal range at the same time. That's for your carriers. Warhead Flare Catalyst, Core Defense Control Stabilizer, and Nanobot Accelerator now have better effects, and the Flare Catalyst is the one that increases the explosion velocity, so that's a big increase to anyone who wants to use this rig in order to make their missiles apply damage better. Core Defense Control Stabilizer, Nanobot Accelerator, these are the ones that increase the amount of shield and armor you get from your armor and shield boosters. Those now have better effects. Considering core defense control stabilizers are one of my favorites, I'm actually pretty excited about that. Drone range extenders effect changed to increase a fixed amount of optimal range. Drone range extenders effect. Oh, it's not the one that's drone control range. It's not the plus 15 kilometers, plus 5 kilometers drone control range. This is the one that actually helps your drones apply their damage better. One I never see people use. So, okay, cool. A fixed amount of optimal range. I can see that now being a buff overall rather than a drop, which is pretty cool. From now, corporations cannot set the tax rate to 100% within 30 days of creation. Maximum tax rate is 20%. This is to stop botting accounts. They would create multiple bots in a corporation, set the tax rate to 100%, so everything that those bots get goes into the corporation into one central pot that they can work with. That's now been stopped. Awesome. We removed the bounty penalty coefficient in nullsec regions. After the adjustment, you get 100% of the bounty for repelling pirates, compared to 95% before the adjustment. I have no idea why this was ever a thing. Nullsec should surely have 100% bounties anyway, but there we go, it's happened. That's a boost to all of us out in nullsec, earning our bounties for repelling pirates. Add in a structure, one of the sovereignty structures like the bounty tax and that, you're going to be getting more money from that. That's pretty cool. Dreadnoughts and carriers now have fuel tanks, which are prioritized when consuming fuel. Adjusted the description of several modules, hopefully makes a bit more sense on some of those. Adjusted the default fitting of several ships to accommodate the slot changes, things like the Typhoon and the Armageddon and Apocalypse, that kind of thing. Adjusted the default, sort of same one. Lowered the basic valuation of nanocore and several skins. This means that some of the nanocores that were being used were just a little bit too good, a little bit too expensive rather, to worry about in regards to being used on ships. I think that's probably going to be things like the Comet core. Some of the blue and green cores are going to use less IP now in order to actually bring those back. Hopefully also the nanocores on the Sunesis, Gnosis and Praxis, because those things again are ridiculously expensive. They just shoot up the cost of the ship, which means no one wants to undock them because they are exclusive ships and they are very expensive in IP, and they're not actually great ships. But hey, we're coming off topic. This is a mixed bag for me. I still think that overall this is good changes. Some of the changes are absolutely amazing. Like, I am genuinely so impressed with Sisters of Eve and the Mordu's Legion stuff. Some of the logistics and other battleships and things there, all very nice changes. There are some concerns in here still, as I mentioned earlier, but again, the test server opens at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, 8 AM UTC on the 9th of April, so we'll need to get in there and actually try these changes to see exactly how they work. I'll be in there, hopefully I'll see you inside. Again, my deepest condolences to anyone on iOS. I am genuinely a little saddened by that, but hey, I'll be putting out as much content as I can from the test server. I'm going to be testing a ton of stuff, making videos on a ton of stuff, and we're going to see how this all pans out. I'm very excited about the April balance update. We've got then the May industrial update coming as well, which is looking more and more amazing the more I hear about it. I'm pretty hyped. I'm pretty hyped for all of this, and I hope you guys are too. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts and opinions on all of this. Otherwise, folks, thank you for watching this lengthy video right the way through to the end. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!